Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Savannah Playford, the Director of Youth Ministry at Dixon United Methodist Church. Whenever you are watching this, welcome to today's daily devotion. As I have mentioned before, I work with kids on the autism spectrum, which is a really rewarding but also a challenging job most days. My days consist of teaching functional language, appropriate behaviors, managing the challenging behaviors too, but my favorite part of my job is when I get to play alongside my clients and see the world through their eyes. Last week I mentioned a client who loves the whole good guy, bad guy type of play and persona. Well, this week I'm back again with another story. Yesterday, my client and I were sharing a clinic room with another younger female peer and her therapist. Well, they invited my client and I to have a tea party with her. My client said, "Gross, tea parties are for girls," and he basically refused to play unless he could bring his superhero, supervillain toys along with him. Well, his other peer agreed, so we collected all of our figures and brought them to the table. And as we began to sit down, the female peer said, "Absolutely not! The supervillain cannot sit with us. He's dirty, ugly, smelly, and mean. Bad guys cannot eat here." I was preparing to de-escalate the situation and offer other solutions, but before I could even jump in, my client said, "Bad guys eat too, right, Nana? There's a plans for everyone's life. Tell her, tell her, tell her." With a big smile and a sigh of relief, I said, "You're absolutely right. Bad guys need to eat too." And this reminds me of the verse, Jeremiah 29:11, that says this: "I know the plans I have in mind for you, declares the Lord. They are plans for peace, not disaster, to give you a future filled with hope." See, this is a popular verse, and I may have mentioned it before in a daily devotion, but I wanted to offer a new perspective to this verse. Most people, when they read this verse, they think of themselves and what God has a plan for us in our life, in my life. But I challenge you to think of how God has a plan for others' lives as well. For example, let's think of it biblically. Jesus handpicked the 12 disciples who were to follow him, right? One of those 12 disciples was Judas, who we all know eventually would betray Jesus in the end. But throughout his teaching, Jesus still washed his feet, he taught him, he forgave him, and he even ate alongside the disciples during that Last Supper. Judas ate too. You see, bad guys need to eat too. Flash forward to now, and our world is dealing with racism, political divide, vaccinators versus anti-vaxxers, but regardless of all of that, we still need to remember that God has a plan for each and every one of those people, a plan to give a future of hope, as it mentions in this verse in Jeremiah. You see, when we as Christians learn to sit at a table with Judas or other bad guys, we will finally understand the love for Jesus and the love and the plan that he has for each and every one of us. Today, offer some time for reflection and prayer for those around us in the world who are different, maybe think a little differently than us. Pray that they will see God's plan for them, and remember, bad guys eat too.